Right.
Right. What's up?
What the?
Hey, I brought this over from the other show. It's the writer's room, everyone. Literally one person. I think that might be my wife. Or is that you?
That's me.
Good. Well, hey Terry, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
You know what the best part of the show is, Terry?
What's the best part?
The best part of the show is putting all that effort into the intro and never having anyone see it.
It's
I was
okay.
so I was so proud of that intro and nobody ever sees it.
It's an amazing intro, and eventually the world will get to will get to enjoy it.
The world has spoken and the world
They'll
has
appreciate it.
said, making an appearance from Fist Deep, the show. Cartoonish farts.
Hey,
We did it.
nice crossover.
So, what did we do? Last 2 weeks, we've done 48-hour workups.
Yeah, we exercise that part of our brain.
Um, the 48-hour project went great. Um, we had some beginner technical flaws on our end, which are just stuff that we, lost sight of over the course of 2 years of not shooting and just, being newer to the craft as it is. But man, I think we put out a fun little film. The writing
Yeah,
portion of it, the group that we had together with our wives and Adam and Jerry Goebel
yeah,
was,
it's solid.
dude, so good, so collaborative and open. Nobody was crapping on anything. Everybody was free and expressive, and it was really a fun night. The lasagna was good.
The lasagna was the bomb. It was probably out of all the elements, the lasagna was probably the best one.
Just a little bit above the fun collaborative nature
Yeah,
of the evening, and then lasagna.
yeah.
It's not too bad.
No, you're gonna have to share that recipe too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, you can get it on YouTube. His name's Alex the Cooking Guy, or the French Cooking Guy,
Okay.
and it's called it's like lasagna 11 chef skills to learn by making lasagna or something like that. And at the end of it,
Wow.
you make an incredible lasagna. Well, you eat the lasagna you
Yeah.
had.
Word. Did you make those noodles?
Yeah, everything was made from scratch. All of it. The only things I got out of a can were the tomatoes, and that's
Mm,
because they're a certain type of Italian tomato
right.
for
Kind of
that
hard to get
purpose.
those fresh. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, you can, but those canned ones are really good for the sauces. Um,
Nice.
yeah, but it was really good, man. I was happy with it. One thing it didn't have though was actually sausage in it.
Okay.
Did you notice that?
So was it all just meat and cheese?
Well,
No.
so here's
There
the funny
was
thing.
beef. Yeah.
One, it was just beef, but I season the beef to try to trick people into thinking it's sausage. I do the same thing with meatballs. So I try to convince you that it's like a pork sausage because I give it that kind of profile in behind it. Um,
Hmm.
right. And then, uh, shit, what was the other thing we were talking about?
I lost my train of
Oh,
thought.
the cheese. There, it doesn't. It has cheese. It has like sprinkled on shaved Parmesan,
Hmm.
Reggiano, but there's not a lot of it. Most of what you thought was cheese was actually a bechamel sauce that gets mixed in with the meat sauce. So that's where that creaminess came from.
Word.
Oh, dude,
Okay.
so good. You're gonna love it. It's a fun recipe, but it takes a long time to put together. I mean, get ready to invest some time.
It'll be like a long Sunday this winter.
Dude, shoot it and we'll put it on the show. That'll be great content. You trying to learn that stuff? That'd be awesome.
Right. All right.
Okay, so let me get the horror comedy down here. We've been talking about other stuff since we worked on this thing. It's been like creative explosion town. Terry had comedy last night, just crushed it. I'm still not convinced that you didn't make the top 3, but a little bit of bias there. Plus, that one guy had an awful big crowd. So, hey,
Yeah, it makes it-
that one guy, if you're out there, you know what's up. You know what's up.
Yeah. But
That one
from
guy.
from my perspective, they all crushed it. Those 3 guys are. I mean, I've seen them all do most of that stuff before.
Perez was awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Lucas was awesome.
Yep.
And then it was Terry. And then it was that other guy. So I just don't understand. I don't
Well, I think
understand
Josh-
your stance.
Josh deserved it.
Let's kick it over to the chat. What does the chat think? I'm paying attention to the chat now. I feel like I neglected chat. I feel like Lucas, I kind of let Lucas down. And I feel like we kind of let your mom down last week, honestly. Or Tuesday. So
You right?
we need to find out from the chat. What does the chat have to say? We're going to bring it up right now. We got to figure out how to incorporate the chat and have it scroll over the thing. Josh deserved it. That's from Terry Shepard. Terry Shepard, you're a knobber. You don't even know what you're talking about. Terry Shepard is a saint, Terry Shepard. So you quit shitting on Terry Shepard and talking about this Josh guy. So today we're finally going to talk about, I say finally, let's not say finally. Our last time trying to talk about grace turned into a lot of great ideas of things that we can use within the film.
Yeah. Yeah.
From the score,
Jeff
having
had some
Jeff
great
on go ahead.
Oh, I was saying Jeff had some fresh and a different perspective on the whole, how it would be a cute story. So
Yeah,
definitely
absolutely.
And that guy's very musically inclined. He can tell a story through music that's just that I could never do.
Yeah, I was really impressed. I didn't think he was just going to, when you meet somebody who's talented, it's one thing to know that they're talented, but it's another thing to actually see them be really talented. Because some people hear, they're a really talented guy, and then they do stuff, and you're like, okay, well, they can do a lot of things pretty good. That was really good.
Yep.
But I'm also prone to hyperbole.
That you are.
Whatever that means. So this week we are definitely going to build out grace just to catch everybody up. And by everybody, you know who you both are, Terry and other person. So harlots, anything, okay, whatever. Protagonist, porn star, conservative roommate. Conservative roommate is going to be Grace, who we're going to talk about today. The scene, not so distant past, cross country. We're thinking possibly like the 80s because that's a fun era for them to go around. It's still a little bit naive, and technology doesn't cause it to where they can track people down super easy like they can now. You actually had to put some work into it.
Yeah, even the late 70s, just because I like that look.
Yeah.
I mean, I like them both. We grew up in that, both of those.
Yeah, it's nostalgic for us. It looks cool. It feels like memories to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to young people, it looks like it's still cool to see the 70s funky, fonts and all that shit.
Okay, so we need to reconsider this whole thing. If we think that young people think it's going to be cool, it's not going to be cool. So we need to recalibrate. What are we doing wrong?
Right.
We're already screwing this up.
Well, the 80s was a hit amongst, my kids watching Stranger Things.
There you go.
So.
But this will be 80s and 80s.
80s and the 80s.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun. Hey, people our age are running around and fighting Russians and upside down aliens.
No, it's going to be 80-year-olds. It's going to be 80-year-olds in the 80s.
Yeah.
I like that. 80-year-olds in the 80s.
It's the 80s and the 80s.
80s
and the 80s. That can be what's playing on the radio station.
Hey, you're listening to 80s and the 80s.
That's what I'm saying, dude. We're listening to 80s and the 80s. Put that down. Where can we write just like general crap? '80s and the '80s. All right. So the do Ex Machina. We've talked about possibly having the car be the narrator of the story and have that be kind of one of our cute little twists at the end. You think that it's the guy who drives the car, but the car takes on the guy's personality. When the car is bought by the guy, it's all he's ever known, the car's ever known, so the car sounds like the guy. That way we can... but that's not a traditional do Ex Machina in that some strange thing is going to fall out of the sky to squish the bad guy and cause everything to be resolved. It's not an infinity gauntlet where you can just undo everything or do whatever you want. You know what I mean? It's a car. It's a car with memories.
Yeah. What was that? What was that Stephen King movie? I think Emilio Estevez was in it. A semi came to life and was killing everybody.
Yeah. Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah, I think AC/DC did the soundtrack for that.
Yep, that's it.
So Judy Jones is our porn star. Grace, who we're covering tonight. Dewey Sprigg is our paramour, possibly. And that would also be the person who's driving the car, who's the narrator. So Dewey, the actor, will have two roles. He'll have a voice role and he'll have the acting role. I don't know if Dewey Sprigg sticks or not, but I do think this guy starts out, and I'm just going to write it down as a general note, starts working at retirement home when it opens. So he's been there for a long time, which is why he bought this old Ghostbusters looking style car to pick people up with, and has been just, he works on it and tinkers with it and touches up the paint and fixes the bumps, and it's all big steel, and you know what I'm saying?
Like a little station wagon?
Like a station wagon, something like that, like one of those kind of Woody type station wagons, but more like the old sort of ambulance wagons, but lower profile.
Yeah, my grandparents had one of those. It was a little longer. We'd go to the drive-in. They'd throw me and my sister in the back and have us hide so we could get in.
And it would have the hand painted fucking stuff on the wall, on the sides, where because they didn't do stencils and shit, somebody painted stuff on the side of it, so such and such, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's a cute story.
Name of the community.
The relationship between that guy and the car, and then his being the willing accomplice to help them do this, which he should stop them and then get convinced to go. Like she comes up and kisses him. Mm-hmm. Couple of mid 70-year-olds just making out on the screen, tongues popping.
And I don't know if I kind of had the idea that maybe he helped them get the car and take off while he stayed back at the place and kind of ran interference.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we did talk about that.
That's an idea that I had.
But that doesn't. That doesn't mean that he can't. Once he figures out that the other two are going to look after them, be on their heels and come in to save the day at some point down the road.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I think we realign them at some point.
Yep.
Because he's going to be a fun part of the story, and for him to be able to play a little bit of Knight of Shiny Armor, that's not the worst thing in the world. It's a little bit old school, but there's nothing wrong with going a little old school with it. He can still be cute.
Yep. Yeah. Well, there's the reason. I mean, those stories work and resonate with people. That's why they keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, when I was thinking about this today, the whole idea of doing the Save the Cat, still love it. The way that we were talking about structuring this, potentially having the middle be at the beginning, isn't probably very Save the Catty. So do we just write it straightforward on the Save the Cat model and then reorganize it, I guess.
We could, although if you read that book, I mean, he mentions like, I think he might mention Memento, that movie,
Uh-huh.
that didn't really follow any real traditional story arc. And it was,
Right.
but he gives some references, he gets references about how it still kind of adhered to those same principles,
Right.
even if they weren't necessarily as on the nose. And
But his book is very on the nose
yeah,
with regard to, if you want to learn the craft, this is the best course to do it by telling the story that this teaches you how to arc out.
yeah,
So I think that's the spirit of what we're doing. And then once we get to that point, we go, okay, now how do we reconfigure this thing to make it freaking awesome?
yeah.
Cool. I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page with that. Antagonists, Joe Johansson and Rayla Robinson. Who knows? Grandson possibly, who's found out about something and is coming along. Who knows? Car, potentially Nellie Bell, which the car hates because the car's a guy. The car doesn't have a voice. He just has thoughts and feelings and, whatever. And he can narrate pretty well. Our log line, aging porn star dupes her conservative roommate into taking a road trip to Vegas so she can accept lifetime achievement from AVN. That's really close. And then Judy Jones, twilight years, mid-late 70s, senior living facility, nursing home, 55 plus community assisted living, which a lot of this will cut and paste below, kind of. Well, not a lot of this, but some of her conditions or whatever. Grace could have a parallel condition that they talk about, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We have to have the interlocking things in order to sew them together in the first place. Never married. She's a spinster, super independent, can't acknowledge limitations. Grandnephews, only surviving relative, which we talked about earlier. We listed some porn names. We thought maybe she'd be ill, or she's fine, and then she's dead, which is kind of the Deus Ex Machina thing, really.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that that's what happens either way, but that's what we're kind of lending to or tracking toward. Back then, she was a porn star from her early 20s, which might be like the early 20s. If we're doing this in the 80s,
In the 80s. Yep.
then she would be in her early 20s in the early 20s. So the roaring 20s would be her stomping ground.
That could be fun.
So she was pioneer of something. We don't know if it's interracial, girl, guy, something. Born in Jasper, Indiana. We just threw that out because we wanted it to be in Indiana, and it was a small town name. And sure enough, Terry, don't you know somebody that lives in Jasper?
Yeah, my brother and sister-in-law live out there.
There you go.
Brother-in-law. Yeah.
So, younger sister died whenever. We'll tell their backstory. She helped raise her. Left as soon as her sister left graduated high school. She worked switch operator, waitress, stock person. Maybe got into metaphysics as time went on. Like the 60s opened her eyes to a lot of stuff, and she got into metaphysical stuff. Maybe she was into it before that anyway, and was always kind of that gypsy sort of person. Physician, telemarketer, we're trying to think of healing, I think, type deals. She has her job, but she also has her kind of healing side. Maybe there's something that's sprung out of all of that. Independent, active, smart, lives in the moment. Honor student, but didn't pursue any higher learning. Made a life on her own. Never pursued any, which is just would be unbelievably hard to do during that era.
Right.
Having to work in like a mill or something during World War II, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or not, or being able to do other stuff because she's positioned herself well enough to not have to struggle, because she never depended on anybody ever. Um, hobbies, croquet, knitting, cards, bingos. We should take some of her hobbies and put them down here too. Not necessarily to keep them all, but just to keep what we want.
Yeah.
And then,
So they have some commonality.
yeah. Um, so yeah, as you can see, we put some time and some thought, one show's worth, into Judy,
Yeah.
and now we get to build her companion. So why don't we go ahead and do that? So Judy or Grace now. Grace is calm in Twilight Years. 75-ish. Probably, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Small in stature. Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I would think her demeanor is pretty meek. I would imagine maybe
a meek demeanor.
because then when we can have, we can show her growth there towards the end, how she is this meek and mild lady, and her hanging out with her friend turns her into a little dynamo at the end.
Or, she's a relative dynamo, but still is very meek. Yep. I think kind of like the one gal, I can't remember her character name, from Police Academy that talked in a tiny little squeaky voice.
Yep.
And then she would just blow up on you.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that.
That character, yep.
Meek demeanor. What else? Keeps to herself.
Yeah,
largely.
I would say whatever the personality traits of Judy are, we try to make her
pretty much the opposite.
Pretty much the opposite.
Yeah. Well, then let's do that.
And we say Judy's independent and never had to really depend on anyone else. Maybe Grace was married for years and never even wrote a check or, did anything for herself.
Which in that era, that would be accurate.
Yeah. I would think of, my grandmother never learned how to drive, that kind of stuff. Always took care of the kids.
Took care of kids. What else? Are you on the doc?
Yep.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Never had a job. Took care of the kids. Lived in the community for a short while relative to other characters. So she's relatively new there. Widow, we'll say.
Yep.
Husband only passed a few years back. Still heartbroken over husband's passing. Kids wanted to move and got legal guardianship. Kids have her put their Grace puts up little fight. Have her put there. You kind of see where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
Kids wanted to move, got legal guardianship. Kids have her put there. Grace puts a fight. Grace is in denial, and we'll just say in denial about the situation. Judy opens her eyes. We should note that, by the way. By her own choosing. Judy's there because she didn't want to screw around with it anymore, and she liked the idea of having somebody mow her lawn, having somebody have breakfast ready for her in the morning, and she was still doted after because she was, this wily old gal with great outfits and cool, fake jewelry, and looked expensive walking around and parading, and everybody oohed and awed. You know what I mean? She kind of built a name for her there. It became a culture, and she enjoyed it.
There you go.
So when Grace comes up, she's already super established. She meaning Judy and everybody else. And then it's kind of Judy's thing to bring her in. And we tell that story of how the two of them got together. So what more about Grace now? Or do we, if there's anything Grace then, what kind of Grace then stuff? Let's take a break from Grace now for a second. We got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I would say she was a mom. She always made sure that dinner was on the table every night.
Mom in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
We'll say mom and wife. So that would mean that her husband would have been World War One. Or let's say that her husband was in the military and fought in World War One and in World War Two. So she had this super lonely life, and her kind of family life was cold because it was a military family. You know what I mean? Let's keep her on an island a little bit. Let's have her story feel islandy as well, because that's a lot of good backstory and dialogue that we can draw on later on. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of gross. It feels like we're squeezing people for dollars. How can we make this as hard for them as possible? They're not real. But how can we make it as hard for them as possible? Like, how can we plot misery in these poor people who don't exist lives?
Well, that's a good thing they don't exist.
Yeah.
Then we don't feel bad doing this.
How many kids? 3?
3 works.
3 kids and 7 grandkids.
Maybe she lost one of them. Possibly that could have been, if one of them could have been would have been possibly Vietnam or Korean War type.
So we'll say 4 kids. Lost one son in WW2. Lost 3 grandsons in Nam. One in Korea. We'll just have the war take all kinds of people from her. Like, do you remember the Jimmy Buffett song, He Went to Paris?
No.
He went to Paris looking for answers to questions that bothered him so. He was impressive, young and aggressive, saved the world on his own, blah, 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 blah. So it tells a story about this guy who goes over to Europe. He goes to Paris. He finds a life for himself. And then all of a sudden the war comes. And it says, war killed his lady, or bombs took his baby and left him with, or war killed his baby, bombs took his lady, left him with only one eye. Body in tatter, whole world was shattered. All he could do was cry. So anyway, it's this tragic story about this guy. But at the end, he says, through 86 years of perpetual motion, if you ask me about it, I'll say some of it's magic, some of it's tragic, but I had a good life all the way. And I think that's who we try to put Grace over as
Okay.
the front for her just kind of inwardly all those years wanting to fall apart a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And
Some of
having
it's,
to, and
I'm
having
reading
to
the
keep it
lyrics.
together. Sorry?
Yeah, I'm reading the lyrics. Yeah, some of it's magic and some of it's tragic, but I had a good life all the way.
Yeah,
I like
and
that.
I think that's there's something in that story that I think that Grace has lived through in a way. So
Yeah.
a lot of loss.
Let's definitely add some layers to this lady for sure.
Absolutely, and because of that era, we do have a lot of things that we can pull from.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like that, Judy's hobbies. We've got a wine lover in here, but I kind of wanted to make Grace a teetotaler, and
Right.
possibly, and that would allow us to get Grace drunk pretty
Yeah.
easily, off like 3 glasses of wine or something. So, something that she's probably never really experienced.
Right. Yeah, or at least hasn't in years and years and years.
Right.
We should have her in one of her tender moments, just kind of fall apart on about her husband, and talk about how, just kind of dealing with kind of how cold he came back, and how different he was in the military, how it changed him, and being in and seeing all of that terrible stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
how kind of cold and distant, and how quiet the house always was, and there was never music. It was always, you know what I mean? We almost need a character sheet for her husband.
Yeah, or a few one-offs for him for sure.
I think Grace's story is going to be really,
Yeah, it's going to be a big part of this.
cracking her open and showing her potential is going to be fun. We might even get her in a little dress at the end. Maybe that was, oh dude, hang on. A loss. Judy always and to get her in a skirt.
There you go.
Because all she wears is like floor length dresses.
Floral, yeah, I remember those big long floral onesies, one big ass dresses. My grandparents, my grandmother and my great grandmother would wear. My great grandmother, I think she lived to be like 96, and they lived together the last probably 10 years of their life.
Right.
Yeah, and it was just fun to go visit them. They just sat in their rocking chairs and watched soap operas all day and wear they wear that same floral dress every day. And the highlight is if I would go over there maybe once a week with some McDonald's breakfast for him.
Right. All right, so we'll have her lose all kinds of people. Let's talk about her husband for a minute. Husband.
I gotta say, my wife is awesome. She just brought me some tacos.
All right.
So pardon me while I type with one hand or write with one hand. And
Are those like tacos that you guys ordered, or those ones she made there at the house?
She made them.
So they came like in the packet, the box.
No, she made the beef. The beef probably came in a box, like where we just.
I mean the shells.
Oh yeah, these are like corn, soft corn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to make it out. Hold it up again. Oh, she just took it and fried it up in the skillet real quick.
Yeah.
All right. Husband. Was stern, but loved her very much. Very cold and distant from World War One and loss of children. We could have all the kids pass away and only one be left who had her put in the thing. Like the scar to the, Simba, Mufasa, you know what I mean? The one kid who's the little asshole who's like, all right, bounce.
The one who shouldn't have died. Or the one who should have died.
Right. Yeah, the one that always lives forever. Oh, that's going to suck if I'm the one that lives forever. That means I was the dick. I checked the chat. Nobody's watching still. Somebody would have commented on that one. Very cold and distant for World War One, loss of children. Maintained a quiet household. Military for 36 years.
It's a long time.
Yeah. Guys do that.
Yeah.
Guys do that now. I mean, General Milley, who's the joint or head of the Joint Chiefs, I believe, he's, probably been in for 36 years now.
Mm.
So he would have been. Let's see. When was Grace born?
When?
Yeah. Let's give Grace a birthday real quick. When is Grace? What year are we going to have this be? 82, 79? What music soundtrack do we want? Let's determine that. Okay, let's hold off on how old they are. Because I want the husband to be just a little bit older. Or maybe even the exact same age. Maybe they even have the same birthday. Maybe they were high school sweethearts. They had the same birthday. They had the same birthday growing up. They were always destined to be together. They were the ultimate love story. And then World War I happened, and then World War II happened, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And everything just kind of fell apart. Well, it didn't fall apart, but they just kept getting things taken from them, which caused life to get colder and colder. I'm looking this way like I don't have a show. You see what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got this minimized, and it didn't occur to me that I might not be able to read anything now that I have it minimized. I did to look at the chat. But since nobody's reading the chat, we will blow it up. And now I shouldn't have that problem.
So if you go to the late 70s, you're looking at a lot of Bee Gees and disco type.
And that's a fun soundtrack. I mean,
that could be fun.
It's also Leonard Skinner. It's also, there's a lot of great music.
When you push it back in like early 80s, you got Flock of Seagulls.
But dude, we've got to have
38 Special.
Like the car that's pursuing them with the two people that work at the retirement community.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be jamming out to some shit. We'll have that in the background sometimes, but I think we're in the car with old what did we decide the car's name might be? Nellie Bell.
Nellie Bell.
When we're in that and they're doing like the high speed car stuff from their side, straight up like Lawrence Welk.
Yeah.
Next up, Bobby Darin. And then Lawrence Welk Orchestra plays something. And that's all they listen to. It's just religious. My grandma used to turn on Lawrence Welk just as soon as it was on. Lawrence Welk was just playing in the house. So
mine did too, yeah. Yep.
That was during the daytime, though. Lawrence Welk Orchestra was on PBS during the day at a certain point in the middle of the day when nobody was watching television. So it was always playing in the house. Crocheting, cards, bingo, wine lover, history club, book club. All right. What more do we want to do with Grace? Because we kind of need to dig into her a little bit. We kind of talked about her personality. She's never done anything. She's always been at home. She's moving to this. Here we go. Moving to...
I could see the only thing she's ever probably really done is maybe taking the kids to the Ozarks or something. Way back in the day when they were young. Like, in between.
Oh, well, that just blew up my sentence. We can do that.
I didn't see it. I was looking at music and cars. Kingswood Station Wagon. Ooh, a Ford Country Squire.
What are you talking about? Cars?
Cars.
So I had put down that moving to the retirement home was the first time she'd ever been out of the state. We'd always wanted to go out of the state, right, Mom? Well, here you are.
Right. There you go.
Shady Oaks. Slizzy Oaks. Shady Oaks. Shady Oaks. Are you there?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
am.
Good.
I'm here. Yeah, I was looking at this I'm looking at this super dope 1972 Ford Country Squire station wagon.
All right.
It could be our Nellie Bell.
All right. I like it.
I know I jumped away from Grace for a moment because I was like, wait a minute, what kind of music and car are we gonna have?
All right. Fair enough.
It's my ADD brain.
Yeah. Oh, no. I know. I know. You don't need to tell me. Okay, so what else? We got so moving out of the retirement home. Maybe we want to have her have this great, right when they got married, everything was awesome, and you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we should timeline out. So let's timeline out her kids, because her kids and her husband and her grandkids are going to be her story.
Yeah.
We don't have the benefit of being able to have her go to Vegas or I've seen Los Angeles, I've been to New York, and those moments. She's
none of that.
She's not that.
Yeah.
She's had a very different life. But if she's military, she's been all over the place. So that wouldn't, this out of state thing wouldn't work either.
Would she have been if they were only stationed, like in World War I and II? If he fought in World War I and II, maybe he was out of the same station the whole time.
That's pretty unlikely.
Really? Like even back then, they wouldn't have just kept somebody in the same general.
I think typically they move you where they need you, so people get bounced around all the time.
Okay.
But again, I don't know that that's necessarily the case for the 1920s.
Right.
So
yeah,
we would have to look into that, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, because if he's going to be military, or maybe we could just say he was in World War I, and that was
right. That could have been it. And then he did his time, and then that was it. But he still was a different person from.
We'll have him at yeah, it's spelling right. Maybe we'll have him at Bellawood or something. Bellawood was a really violent battle in World War II that the Marines were in. That's where they got the name Devil Dog. Teufelhunden. So,
Devil Dogs.
For anybody playing at home, Teufelhunden. Okay. Stern, very cold and distant from more lost child. And it's time we're on. Maintain a quiet household. Okay. So let's do.
Probably, I could see that he would have had like a little chest full of memorabilia from that time that when he passed on she still has maybe.
Yeah. Hey. Still kind of like the thing of my grandfather's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Memorabilia.
Still has small chest of husband's military personal stuff. Okay. Grace then. World for okay. So Grace's kids. Grace's kids are going to be a big deal. What are their kids going to be named? What's the husband's name? Let's call it Grace's
Buck.
family.
Bucky. His name is Bucky. That's his nickname. His name is Bucky Jr., BJ.
So what's Grace's last name? Married name. Grace's family. Husband is...
Yeah, that last name could be Buck, and they call him Bucky.
So... last name Buck. So Grace Buck. Okay. And then husband's first name, Tom. Thomas. Bucky. Buck. Oldest son, or we'll just say oldest. Is it going to be a son, I assume? Let's say they had all sons.
Tom Jr.
Thomas Buck Jr. Second son will be Michael. You all right?
Yeah, I'm looking at
Hang on a second. Something just fell in our kitchen. I'm sorry.
Do what?
Something just fell outside of the studio.
Wait, what?
Dude, you scared the shit out of me. It sounded like you fell. I was expecting to come in here and find you stroked out. Administer, have to drag the camera around and show all of this for content. Thanks. Thanks for not stroking. Killing me, man. That was scary. Are you coming into work still? Are you working still? Alright. Well, you can come in if you want. Alright, so Michael Buck, third son. What's third son's name? Jeffrey Buck.
Something, I don't know, is Jeffrey like a, was it common in the 30s, 40s?
Okay. Then let's say Thomas, Michael, Gabriel.
Charles, yeah.
Fourth son.
Are they all boys or do we have a girl?
Charles Buck.
Yeah, I like having them all boys, because then,
That's
she
how we
just
kill
wouldn't
them all.
have, huh?
That's how we end up killing them all.
Yeah.
Right.
And she's never really had a close female.
And then the fifth and youngest son, who was the one that was the surprise later in life, is going to be asshole Buck.
He's the one that survived.
Yeah. He was the surprise child. Who puts Grace in the home? Because everybody else is dead.
Yep.
And it's his whatever. No, that wouldn't work. Never mind. I was thinking I'm getting my stories mixed up. Okay. So fifth son is asshole Buck. When did they get married?
30s, late 30s. When was what years were WW1?
That's like 2019,
Oh, wow. Oh,
2016.
yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, 1919, 1916. Let's look it up.
1918, 1914 to 18. So were they?
World War One.
Wow, so that would put them,
Wait, let me do that again. What did that say?
maybe he wasn't in World War II.
Oh,
Well, I guess he could be. He could have been older than her. But, wow.
yeah, he needs to be older. So, according to Wikipedia, 1914 to 1918.
Okay.
So, if he would have been in World War One, that means he would have been born in like 1880 or 1897,
Or even,
and she would have
or
born
even
like
yeah,
she could have been the first person born in 1900,
right.
or she could have said, "Well, Mom always said I was the seventh baby born in 1900."
There you go.
I don't know how she'd ever know that. Maybe she'd say the first. All right, let's go back to that. So, Mary, if she was born in 1900, Grace born in 1900, January 1st. Mama always said I was the first baby of the century. Or something like that. Some cute little saying that her mom always told her.
Right. Mom always said life is like a box of chocolates.
That's right.
Yeah.
It'll rot your teeth out, give you diabetes,
Don't eat
have your
chocolate.
feet cut off. All right, so married Grace in, if she was born in 1900, then he would have married Grace in 1914, 15. So they would have gotten married when she was like 15 years old,
Yep.
which was pretty commonplace, I think, back then. 1915, which means that the oldest son would have been born while he was away at war in 1917. Born in 1917 while...
Sorry, I had to write that down.
What?
I had to write that down. Mama always said life's like a box of chocolates. You eat too much and they cut your feet off.
Right. It's a good joke. Thomas Buck Jr., born 1917, while Dad was in World War One. The second son would come back after that, got back in 1919, which means that he would have been born in 1920. Gabriel, born 1923. Charles, born
1924.
1923.
We need some
They were twins.
Irish twins. Irish.
Well, we'll say they were both born in 1923. So, like, December 1923 and January.
As soon as the stitches came out, she was pregnant again.
Yeah. And then Asshole Buck was born in 1943. That way, in 1982, he'll be, 38 or something. Right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, that'll be good. Because she'll be old, he'll be young. He doesn't want to be tied down to his mom.
No, absolutely not. Okay, cool. So, with these
out.
guys,
Hookers and blow.
when are they going to die?
let's see. So if they were born in 1920, they probably would have died in World War II or the Korean War.
And we'll put both of these guys in Korea. Korea was 1950. That would made him 27. That's pretty late. It's not late, but still.
Yeah,
So let's go. They were born in 28.
there you go.
And then died in World War II. Died in Korea.
Yeah, I feel like we're plotting out Cap or Lieutenant Dan's family.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. Maybe a little bit. Or maybe Gabriel.
Oh yeah, that'd make it even more of a burden on her. Because her twin died in, yeah, there you go. His twin.
Well, basically his twin.
Oh yeah, they weren't twins. They could be twins. One of them, they both went over there. One of them died. The other one made it. He couldn't live with that.
Yeah, that hits a little close to home because of my twins.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
equivocate anything. We'll have this one.
Autoerotic fixation. It was accident. He was he was just seeing how far he could go.
Her husband and 4 of her 5 children all died hanging themselves, jerking off.
Yeah.
It's not what you would have thought for Grace's past, but lo and behold, here's where we were at.
To one of Judy's stag films.
Right. Okay. So we kind of have an idea of surprise child of okay, so we have a pretty good idea of her family. We think they're all going to die. When did he die by suicide? So died in Korea in 1951, maybe, and then the other one.
52? 55?
No, and say like 63 or something.
There you go.
Let's have him come on down a little bit farther. So he was like asshole Buck's favorite uncle. Well, I guess only uncle left.
Wait. They're not uncles.
Brother, I meant.
Did he fly to Los Angeles and find his asshole brother?
Yeah. Or what if we cast the last one as Hulk Hogan and he flies to Los Angeles and finds his asshole brother? No?
Yeah.
That's going to play great on the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, brother.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, what do we need? What else do we need for Grace? We know she's got these kids, and most of them have passed the. Only one that's left put her into the thing. She has hobbies that we didn't really delve into. I don't suppose we could screw around with some of that and figure out some of the things she enjoys.
crosswords.
Lawrence Welk.
Lawrence Welk, crosswords. Soap opera. She loves the show Joker's Wild.
Ooh. Loves the. I'll have to make sure she's in the right era for that then.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, so yeah, if it's late 70s, I don't know.
But we should have some shows that she enjoys. But those might be the kind of shows that Judy watches.
Yeah. Yeah. Joker's Wild ran 69 to 74.
Okay. Oh well, shit. 69 to 74.
Oh no, they had more. They played them all the way through. Then they had more seasons, like 77 to 86.
There we go.
So,
77 to 86.
yep.
Perfect. Okay. What else? Oops.
Love Boat. The Love Boat.
Love Boat. Um, reads the Bible quite often. Oops. The show is falling apart. Nobody can see anything. Okay. Those Joker's Wild, The Love Boat, reads the Bible a lot. Can play guitar and sing, though her voice sucks ass.
I would imagine the songs are mostly like folk songs or hymnals.
Yes, hymnals. Love it. Hymnal.
Hymnal. You know, hymnals.
I know what hymnal. I got the N and the M backwards when I spelled it. It said hymnal.
She's into hentai.
She's into hentai. She's into hentai. I'm into smack. She's into fast food. I'm into smack. She's into going out. I'm into smack. I'm into smack. I'm into smack.
She loves to do Tai Chi.
She loves Tai Chi. I'm doing smack. We should do that video. I'm doing smack. All right. What else we got, man? We've covered a lot of ground so far.
We did. She's more interesting than Judy.
She's definitely going to be an interesting character. She's going to have a pretty sad story. But I think Judy's going to be fun too.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, cool. I guess we've got kind of Grace figured out.
I dig it. I like this lady.
Coming up, so next weekend you're gone, or next weekend, next Thursday you're gone.
Yep. Yeah.
You're getting wined and dined and flown in private jets cross country and whisked around to do amazing stuff.
Yes.
You're jet setting.
Jet setting.
Which is kind of crazy, by the way. Super envious. And congratulations on whatever awesomeness you did to deserve that.
Thank you.
So I don't know what we're going to do. I had considered possibly trying to get a hold of like Jerry and Jeff or Jason Emery or some of these guys and see if maybe they wanted to jump on while you were gone, and we could all just do another 48-hour exercise type thing and see if we can't come up with a fun little script.
I think that's a good idea because, you know, the idea, or at least I think that's what we talked about early on, was doing some of these every so often where we did just that, so we'd have things to shoot. And we already have
Absolutely.
plenty of things we want to shoot, but we may come up with something that we're like, that we rush to the forefront of the next project to shoot,
Yeah.
especially with those guys.
And it's gonna be exactly like the last 2 weeks have been. Essentially, it's just gonna be going over the exact same stuff that we just did. So it's gonna be like doing yet another 48-hour workup. But yeah, that's what I think the plan's gonna be. It could change and evolve a little bit. You're not gonna be here. You don't care.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
That's the spirit. That's what I wanted to hear.
It don't make me none.
Dude, these farts. It don't confront me none as long as I get my rent paid on Friday. Friday coming, I didn't have the rent. Out the door I went. And then we'll go back on in 2 weeks. We'll come back here, and I would assume we'll start breaking into the Paramore, Dewey Sprigg, or whatever his name ends up being.
Right.
Our antagonists, who are going to be the people who come to gather him up. Possibly a grandson, possibly the car. We can have a little bit of fun. That would be the perfect time to zone out for 5 minutes and look at cars.
Yeah. Right, right now.
Why don't we do that then?
And I wasn't like, it wasn't just the cars, it was also the music. I was like, okay, what songs I have like 5 different windows open.
Right.
Top 50 songs from 82, 85, 78. So
We need to figure out how to get you so you can share screen and I can capture that and show what you're doing as well at times.
yeah.
So we need to work on that. But for tonight, dude, I think that's the show.
Yeah, I think
I don't see any reason to beat this up for 15 more minutes. We've got a pretty good understanding of who Grace is at this point, and I think she's a tragic character, honestly, but still super hopeful and optimistic and
yeah,
in her own way.
yeah, because definitely we can show her story arc too by making her just have lived this tragic life.
Yeah.
Or not even tragic, just real and hard and
Just real.
real.
Yeah. We'll just throw as much horrible stuff at her as we can and just try to make her deep and compelling. We're going to be deep and compelling, dude.
I never thought I would be.
Yeah, I know. Hope floats. But so do turds. All right. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say we call it. And this has been the Writer's Room. Thanks for the people who came out. I could look at that real quick, I guess. Oh, we peaked at 3 for about a millisecond.
Hey.
Hey. But yeah, otherwise it's just been righting
That one person
wrongs.
was like, oh, I don't, yeah, that.
All right. That's the Writer's Room. We'll see everybody next week, and we'll see you also on Tuesday for Fist Deep. Be there for that. Bye.
Oh man, that was deep.